Welcome back to Souhan Unfiltered at SouhanUnfiltered.com. I'm Jim Souhan. I'm with Michael Russo. We are in Chicago. We spent the morning at United Center. We're about to head back there for Game 1 of the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think this is Michael, the most excited I have been for a Minnesota Wild game or playoff series, I think, in history. Because, the 2003 team went on that miraculous run, but I never really expected them to win. I knew it was going to come to an end. This is a really good team playing at its peak, group of really good guys, and going up against just a wonderful hockey organization, a great team, a bunch of classy, skilled core players. This promises to be not only great drama, but high entertainment, I believe.
Yeah, it certainly has that ability to be, and we'll see if it comes into fruition. The Wild, this is the year that they want to prove that they are a different team. It's pretty interesting. You could see, sometimes I like the way that Mike Yeo talks to us, because sometimes he gives you almost a little hint of what his message has been to the team, and
he always does.
Yeah, and it was very clear the last couple days that he's going in there and telling his guys nothing is different. You guys have proven nothing. You want to say that you're a better team, that's fine, but until we go out and prove that we're different and this is a different year, nothing's changed. And so that to me is kind of the message now for this series. He to me has made it very clear that this organization is no longer excited by just winning a round, or that is no longer the expectation. That the expectation is to do something special and go for a long way. And let's be honest, you're going to go into the playoffs every single year and have to beat teams like the Blackhawks, beat teams like the Ducks. And so if you're going to do it, you might as well just start now, and I think that's clearly been his message the last couple of days.
What I love is, especially today's like today, where Yo speaks first, and then we go to the locker. Usually it's the other way around. Usually you talk to guys in the locker room, then go get Yo. Today it was Yo and then the locker room. And so you listen to Yo talk, and then you go in the locker room, and you hear Zach Parise say everything Mike Yo just said.
Yeah, which is always, to me, I notice that too all the time when you go in their locker room, especially after games. To me, that's the sign of a team that buys into what their coach is selling. When guys like Zach Parise and Mikko Koivu and Ryan Suter are basically spewing the same talking points as the coach, that tells you that, I think there's a respect level there, or a brainwash level. I don't know. But either way, to me, it's a good thing. And, it was pretty interesting. Zach was saying the same thing.
Brainwashing is a good thing. At least that's what my bosses tell me to say.
Yeah.
Good
one.
We let I do this all the time. I tease stuff and then forget to get to it. I said at the end of our last show that we would give our picks. I forgot, so we're gonna give our picks right now, and we're gonna both sound like flaming, raging homers. I did pick the Wild to win last series. I just didn't like the way the Blues were playing. I thought the Wild had an advantage in goal. I'm actually picking the Wild, and I'm actually gonna pick them in 6 because I think if they're gonna win, it's gonna follow a script. They're gonna win one of the first 2. They're going to win the 2 home games, probably lose Game 5 to a desperate Blackhawks team, and then I think they win Game 6 at home. I'm not sure they would win a Game 7 in Chicago. So I decided to pick the Wild because of the goalie advantage, and then to me the only logical way to pick them is pick them in 6. So that's my stupid, irrelevant pick for the
that really was my rationale too on why I picked the Blues to win in 7, because I just thought it would go the distance, right. And if it went the distance, that the Wild would it would be hard to win a Game 7 in St. Louis, and frankly, I think it would be much harder for the Wild to win a Game 7 in Chicago. I mean, I got to tell you, I've told you before that I respect the heck out of the Blues fans, but I was unimpressed really with the atmosphere in St. Louis throughout. I didn't think there was anything special or overly loud about what they were bringing in that building, and so I might have been wrong about the Wild winning Game 7, but I can tell you that playing in Chicago is going to be a different animal in a Game 7. So my feeling is I really do believe the Wild can win this series. It's up to them to prove it. I think they can, and if they can, I think it's got to be done in 6, so that's kind of why I went that way. And I really believe that if the Wild, one thing the Wild have made it very clear is that if they're going to be a different team this year, you got to finally win a game in this building, and if you could do what the Wild did to St. Louis and put the pressure on them right off the bat in that series and win Game 1, I think that would bode really well for the Wild to win this series rather than going into Game 2, Jim, as you know, and just immediately just putting the natural pressure on themselves by really not wanting to fall down 2-0.
Right. The show can be found at SouhanUnfiltered.com. That's all of my shows, interviews with other people, also my shows with Michael Russo, kind of the Russo-Souhan version of the show. You can subscribe for free at iTunes, have it delivered to your inbox, listen via iHeartRadio. I want to thank our sponsors, all the Cara pubs. That's the Liffey, the Local, Kieran's. There's also Cooper's out in St. Louis Park. O'Gara's, where I spend most of my Friday nights when I'm at home. Guinness, for sponsoring all the beer giveaways we've been doing. Basically, every time we do a show at a Cara Irish pub, the first 50 people to show up and check in on some kind of social media get a free pint of Guinness, including me, which is a good deal. And Minnesota Eye Consultants, kind of our prime sponsor. We appreciate their support. They came out to the Liffey. Anna Miller and one of their surgeons came out to the Liffey on, what was it?
Dr. Hansen.
Dr. Hansen, Mark Hansen came out on Thursday. I get my date. My days are all messed up. Or Wednesday. Whenever, last week, and we had a fun show with them. This show, I'm going to keep Russo to an hour because we got to get to the rink. You just wouldn't stop talking last time.
Yeah, I know.
And then after the show ends, we sat there and talked with some of the guys who showed up. A great group of people we had there at the Liffey last time. And you ended up telling us about getting mugged by like a 6-year-old in Costa Rica. So tell us the story.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's basically it. A kid came up to me. I thought he wanted money. And he did. He did. He wanted money, but not like, where I could say no. Let's put it that way. And I wasn't going to fight a little kid with a knife, so I gave him everything I had. I was mugged by like a 12-year-old. But I told you even a funnier story.
So how big was the knife?
It was big enough to hurt me. And I don't know if you can imagine this, Jim, but I don't run fast. And that kid would have put it right. That kid would have put it right through my spine. So I just figured better be safe than sorry. That was in San Jose, which is not a good city.
San Jose, Costa Rica.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't been to that one.
A lot of people told me fly into San Jose and leave. And I didn't listen that first night and decided to just go sightseeing. And that's not a place you want to sightsee at night. So, yeah, that was a bad night in my life. The other funny story that I told you about a kid, this one was a demeaning one. This one, it was a funny... I
thought all your stories were demeaning.
It was a funny story, but it really genuinely was like a knife to the back. So I'm playing golf in Ireland. I told you the story, actually, where about 3 or 4... Actually, it would have been 2009 because it was the year that Chuck Fletcher was hired as GM. I was in Hawaii. And he was hired as GM in Hawaii, and I wrote the story from there. And my buddies, I had a buddy that was getting married, and his bachelor party was in Ireland. And I'm like, well, I'm going to Hawaii the week before. I really can't go to Ireland. And they convinced me, well, look, you only live once. Just come. So it was like one of the craziest things I ever did. I was flying home. I connected in Minnesota, but I went home for like an hour and a half, did laundry. Went back to the airport, flew to JFK, connected at JFK, went to Dublin. It's Friday I land. Might have even been a Thursday night. Land, have fun. Friday, have fun. Saturday we go. I just remembered another part of this Ireland story. I could tell you stories about this bachelor party like out of control.
We have 50 minutes.
But on this Saturday one, so we're golfing at some public course in Ireland. Okay, so not like one of their incredible courses, but I'm not an incredible golfer on any course. Okay, so we're golfing, and all of a sudden we had to rent clubs and we had to basically rent everything because none of us brought anything, and we're like 8 holes into and I've lost almost every one of my balls. And so I said to them, look, I want to play like 16, 17, 18 because that was what this course was apparently known for. So I'm going to hold on to my last couple balls. So we get to like the 12th or 13th hole, and I hear this rustling in the woods to the right of me. And I'm like looking in the woods, and I see this movement, and I think like I'm about to get attacked by a bear. Like I don't know if there are a lot of bears that hang out in Ireland, but I was convinced it was a bear or like a boar or something.
Known for its bears, Michael.
Yeah. So all of a sudden I'm just hearing this rustling, and I'm like saying to my friends, like, "What the fuck is going on over there?" And all of a sudden I see this like little shape of a person coming out of the woods, and it's like a 11-year-old kid
with a knife, and he robbed you.
No, even worse. He had a bag of golf balls,
and they're all yours.
And he didn't come up to anybody but me. And he goes, and he sold me the balls that he was that he basically was finding that I kept on losing. He sold me my own balls back. So I gave this kid like 25 pounds or whatever it was, and bought my own balls, and it was a great story. I mean, my friends were making fun of me for like the last 6-7 holes. Just the fact that this kid was stealing my balls that I kept on losing.
Now, you said you just thought of another.
Just this one might not be as funny, but so one on the Friday night that we got there, the bachelor's best friend, which is one of my best friends, rented out a poker table at a kind of a poker hall / casino in Dublin, and we get there, and firsthand. This kid, I've told you poker stories, I think, on here before about how like I've almost flipped over tables in Vegas losing hands. This one was kind of a similar story, only me doing the killing it. It's me and the Bachelor, okay? And the whole day he's talking about how he's going to beat me in poker, okay? And poker's my thing. And the whole day he's just trash talking me. So we get in there, and my whole thing is like, like I don't give a shit that you're getting married. I'm gonna absolutely take everything in your wallet. So first hand, I want him on the left of me, okay? Because I just kind of, my own strategy, I'm like, yeah, you sit here, okay?
Why is that a strategy?
Because here's the thing. I know Peter well, and I know that when he gets a big hand, he limps, like he doesn't want to raise. So I know that if he's going to raise me, that he probably has nothing, but if he's just going to limp, that he probably has a monster. So here's what happens, okay? Like I can't remember who was the blinds, but basically he calls. So he gives me a free card. I must have been the big blind. So I just check. So now I check. He bets. Okay. So but he bet almost nothing. Okay. And I got like 9-7 offsuit. And immediately it comes around to me. So I just decide to be a calling station. I call. So now next card comes out, gives me an open-ended straight. So I check to him. He bets again like the minimum. So I know that right now he must have like a monster hand that he's just trying to sucker me into this thing. And again, now I have an open-ended straight. Like he put me in this position to basically catch my card by not betting. So of course, I call. Next card out gives me my straight. I check. He bets a little bigger. Gets to me. I come over the top of him, and I don't know if it was like he was so excited that he had trapped me the entire hand. But now he just like does a little raise. I come over the top of him again. Now he goes all in. I call. I catch my thing. He flopped trip like jacks. And so first hand, after trash talking me all day, I sent this guy to the ATM.
Wow.
He was so pissed off. That's what popped in my head, by the way. I don't know why.
Well, he's about to get married. He's going to be broke either way.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, but, and I remember as he's leaving the casino, because they didn't have an ATM in the casino, he had to go down the street to go get more money.
A casino without an ATM?
Yeah, I know. It was bizarre. It was one of these private casinos.
Kind of idiots run this casino?
I'm telling you, the casino is like the size of like half a basketball court. It was pretty small little rinky-dink casino. So he had to go down the street to go to it. But as he was leaving the casino, I turned to him like, "Hey, Peter," I said, "You're the one that wanted me to fly in here from Hawaii." First hand, I took about $250 off him.
Any stories involving the word slacks you want to share with us right now?
No, not yet.
Something will pop in your head.
Yeah.
We're going to get to a lot of hockey talk, of course. I have to say we are also in town while the NFL draft is here.
Oh, my God.
And, you and I were at a restaurant last night and we're kind of keeping track of the draft. I was watching some of it before I went to dinner. Goodell got booed every time he walked on stage. So you have this huge production, this $1 million production. You move it to Chicago to spread the goodwill of your league. And then what do? According to the people who were there, Goodell walks on stage, Goodell gets booed, and then there's nothing, no entertainment, nothing between picks. Goodell screws up everything. Goodell is being propped up by the popularity of this league. He's a terrible commissioner. He's a terrible public figure. They should send, comedians or former players. There are so many people who could go out and announce these picks and get just people fired up. And instead you're putting out this empty suit weenie.
Especially the NFL. I mean, They could afford anything.
Yeah.
And there's so many celebrities. Hey, you know what? You didn't come out with me last night. After I left you.
I was sick of you.
Guess who I ran into right in front of Rush on the Tavern? It was stereotypical Chicago.
Coomer?
George Wendt.
Oh, that's awesome.
Day and a half after I wrote my Nino Niederreiter story where I said, like, Norm from Cheers.
That's so
all of us,
funny.
our entire traveling party, ran into him. You know, LaPanta, Greenlight. I mean, not ran into him. He was coming out of Rush on the Tavern as we were going in. But all of a sudden, they're like, Russo, look. And what's real? First of all, he's super skinny now. But anyway, but I didn't tell him this. I wanted to, like, run up to him. But years ago, my uncle used to be one of the vice presidents of Warner Brothers. And so in 1994, I went out there before summer camp one year and hung out. I basically went and visited my uncle. And I went to pick up my cousin at this school. And my cousin's school was like all these like famous actors' kids, okay, at this school. So one day I went to go pick up my cousin to bring him home. And I start playing like I just throwing like a kickball around, playing catch with all these kids. And all of a sudden, I feel this figure over my right shoulder, and it's George Wendt when I turn around. And two of the kids, I think it's two of the kids that I'm playing ball with are like George Wendt's kids. So I wanted to tell him the story. I'm like, you remember me? I like fond of you in 1994, 21, 22 years ago. But it was pretty. So I saw him yesterday. So I was all excited because I'm like, I just used you in a lead. He didn't really understand what a lead was.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that was the most exciting thing that's ever happened in his life, was to be part of a Russo
I actually saw
lead.
him in a play once in London. It was called, I think the name of the play was Art. It was him and Judd. What was the guy's name? Oh man, this is going to kill me now. Come back to me. I'm going to figure this out.
Judd, the guy from Taxi.
Yes.
I'm Judd Hirsch.
Yes, Judd Hirsch and George Wendt, and I'm pretty sure the play was Art. And so they have this, and I remember this part of this play is that they had to do something where, like, all of a sudden in the middle of a soliloquy, George would come onto the stage because so many people would scream Norm when he'd come on the stage. So they basically had to do this scene. They had to figure out a way to get him on stage without everybody interrupting the play and yelling Norm. And it was like, I forget what, it was like this whole long, kind of monologue by Judd Hirsch, like doing it where you're like entrenched. So then all of a sudden George Wendt snuck on stage so nobody would scream, I don't know. I've gone off on a tangent here.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Podcasts are about tangents. They're usually pretty good. We'll forgive you for
My
that
buddy
one.
last night came out. Dave Larson, you met him. Oh no, you didn't meet him either. You didn't. Yeah, you didn't come to Rush on the Tavern. Dave Larson's the lead. He plays Elder Price in Book of Mormon. So they've been in here in Chicago forever. So he is singing the national anthem at the White Sox game on Thursday. And he just did the seventh inning stretch in the national anthem at the Cubs game on a couple of weeks ago.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, you missed him. You got to see him. I might go to a show tomorrow night, even though I've seen it like 15 times.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
I saw it in Minneapolis a bunch last year.
I saw it on Broadway, and I was, I knew, everybody I loved that show, so I knew it was going to be great. I had no idea what it was really going to be about.
Yeah.
And it was the twist. I don't want to do any spoilers here. Just go see it. Go see it, and don't be offended.
Well, yeah, don't be offended. That's the key. So yeah, he is unbelievably talented. I hopefully actually tonight with an 8:30 start, we're probably not going out, but maybe tomorrow night after a show, we should all just go get a drink with it. Got to meet this guy. He's unbelievably talented. He was in the way I met him is one of my good friends, Dave Reeser, was in a Broadway musical, real short-lived, called Good Vibrations. It was the Beach Boys musical,
cool.
And Dave Larson was the lead in that, and that's how I became friends with him. That was like a decade ago. And then he went and did Billy Elliot on Broadway and a bunch of other stuff. And then he's gotten this, and this is now the beginning of his. He just re-upped in January. It's going to be. They go to Milwaukee from here, then they go to Washington D.C. for like 9 weeks, then they go to Boston for like 2 months. It's a pretty cool gig that he's got, just traveling around the country.
Is Billy Elliot worth seeing? I never.
I never saw that actually, but I know he liked doing the show.
By the way, new Twitter follower for us probably. Russo Slacks is now following.
No.
Me. Yes. Russo Slacks is now following us
on
Twitter. You should be honored. Your Slack should be honored. We do have a coffee pick for you. You've been begging Starbucks to be our sponsor, and they can't afford us, I think, is the problem.
Yeah.
But last night we were at dinner, and they served us some Intelligentsia coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
Yeah. There's this Wild fan that every time I come to Chicago, he emails me, you got to go to Intelligentsia Coffee.
Damn, it was good.
And you brought it up last night. You asked the waiter what it is.
Yeah.
It was Intelligentsia, and I completely forgot that it was, when you brought that up, I completely forgot that this is the place that I'm supposed to visit here in Chicago.
Right.
But it was incredible.
And there are like 3 Intelligentsia coffee places in Chicago, and apparently it is served a few places in Minneapolis, like Dogwood Cafe. I can't remember the names of the other places. I'm sure you can figure it out. Just Google it or whatever. But, man, that is good. I might have to, I don't know. I might have a new habit. I might have a new bad habit. Let's get to some hockey now. We already kind of gave our picks, but that doesn't mean we have any idea what's going to happen in Game 1. Well, actually, let's go this direction, because you and I both, for today's paper, it was funny. We wrote kind of dueling stars taking care of themselves stories. You wrote about Parisi and his obsessive compulsiveness when it comes to making himself a better player. All the people he hires, all the extra training he does, all the extra conditioning he does. And it reminded me, as I pointed out in my piece today, I covered Chris Carter toward the end of his career. And Carter, I did a story with Carter. I had him list all the people who he employed, and it was like nutritionist, massage therapist, chiropractor, personal chef, personal trainer, like a yoga. I mean, he listed like a dozen people, and that was what Parisi. So in your piece today, you have Parisi telling you how much money and how much time he spends trying to upgrade, and then I did a piece on Dubnyk,
basically making fun of those
Suter,
people,
because these guys do nothing extra. Suter was even taking pride that he doesn't drink a damn protein shake every time he works out.
Yeah, it's funny, and that was totally coincidental that we did this. I mean, it was, I think I just finished, and you had sent me your column probably an hour and a half before, and I never, I decided to read it when I was done writing it, then I just started laughing when I read it. But, I mean, Zach is the ultimate trainer. I mean, he is... I didn't even get into half the people he employs. I mean, he works skating and skills with Diane Ness all summer in Minneapolis. Daryl Belfry, who I mentioned today. And the reason why that came up is because Patrick Kane volunteered to me that they had the same skills competition and explained to me what the Daryl is that they called each other last year on. If you go on YouTube and just type in Patrick Kane handshake, you'll see what I'm talking about, where Parisi and Kane talk during the handshake line at the end of last year's Wild Series, and they go, "Good job, Daryl. Good job, Daryl." And I've always wondered what it was, and Parisi just said, "Oh, it's an inside joke." And then yesterday, Kane volunteers to me, explains to me what it was. So that was kind of like the link of what made me stitch that story back together. But then I talked to his trainer, Jay Schroeder from Arizona yesterday morning, and he also has Taves. And he works, and one of his associates is Eric Rasmussen, the former NHLer, the Gopher that lives in the Twin Cities. And the amount of, he does it with Justin Falk, J.T. Brown, Chris Porter, and a couple other players, and it is apparently ridiculous what they do. And as Zach explained in the story, the goal of it is to make him feel fresh throughout the season, where, a lot of guys by the end, they're kind of out of gas and worn out, and a lot of guys lose weight during the season. He still looks like he is the same that he always is. And it's just, but it is, you're right, it's different people. I mean, different people have different styles, different personalities. I talked to Darcy Kemper today on another subject about just, the personalities that actually we could talk about that in a second, but it is, everybody's got their own style, and Ryan Suter is well known as during the summers, the way he works out is working his farm, where Zach is not like that.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that really struck me all week talking to people, especially Parisi, you pointed out that during the Blues series, anytime Parisi was asked about a Blues player, he basically said, I don't talk about the opponent. Now all of a sudden they're playing the Blackhawks, and he's going on and on about Kane and Taves and all these other guys. He just either dislikes or has no respect for key Blues players. Is what I gather from that.
Yes, I would agree. I think it's. I've written it. I mean, it's it's out there that there's no love lost really between Backus and Parisi and Suter. I mean, that's a heck of a rivalry, and that's legit. And but you could just see, when you talk to Kane and Taves and Parisi, and they all talk about each other, the way they kind of light up. I mean, it is there's a respectful level there. That doesn't mean they're not going to go out on the ice and absolutely beat the crap out of each other the next 7 games, maybe. But there's a definite respect level there. I mean, yesterday when I was talking to Taves, and he went on. All of a sudden, he took a right-hand turn in the middle of the interview and started talking about J.P. Parisi, and you could just sense what Parisi's influence was in this guy's life. And same thing with Kane, when you could just see how much he respects Parisi, and Parisi loves watching Kane play. I don't think he wants to quote unquote watch him in this series perform. But there's definitely, you could just. I think if you read today's article, you could sense how much they all like each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me about your conversation with Kemper.
Kemper was interesting today because he basically said, I basically said to him, what have you learned? Because a lot of people are just looking at this as a wasted season. And he said, you know what I learned is that when watching Dubnyk is that my looseness and relaxing before a game is not wrong. And he said that, when he got here, he is very much like Dubnyk from a standpoint that off the ice, he's happy-go-lucky and always smiling and relaxed, and the players love him, and he'll go play soccer with them before a game. But then, you kind of, all he knew, he said to me, was, Harding and Backstrom and how tight they are before a game, and in his mind, professional and singularly focused and, almost uptight, and, Backstrom with the turtle walk. And so he started thinking, maybe I'm not being a pro. And so he tried to start getting into changing the way he was and starting to get really focused. And then when he began to struggle, he said then it became even more uptight, where he really, now I'm going to overcompensate and really become focused and not talk to the guys and not talk to the media and not play in the thing. And he said, you know what, now Dubnyk comes here and I watch this guy, the way he is talking to you guys and the way that he is. And I'm probably filling in more words than he said it, but I'm kind of translating what our conversation was like. He wasn't this specific. But when he, sees him playing soccer and joking around, and he started realizing, you know what, it's okay if I'm like that. Everybody's got their own personality. And, his hope is that now, eventually, when he gets to hopefully play every day again somewhere, at some point in his career, that, he's going to try that again, being kind of looseness and relaxed and see if that, kind of helps him on the ice rather than being uptight. Did
you ever get into B.B. King?
No.
Oh, I see. During my young years, high school, college, right out of college, it seemed like every time I was in a town, he was in the same town. I loved blues guitar, so I went to see him. B.B. King's in hospice now. I feel terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just one of the great, simple, and the great thing about B.B. is B.B. could play a great lead on his guitar with 3 notes. He's the opposite of your modern shredder guitarist. He just played so pure and so simple. So that's my pop culture sad note of the day.
Yeah. Can I lighten up the mood?
Yes.
B.B. King's has another reason why it's I know B.B. King. So I went to back at my tail end in Florida, I tried to lose a lot of weight. So what I did is I quit drinking, and so. Before I moved to Minnesota, I had probably not had a drink of alcohol for 3 or 4 years, okay? And lost a bunch of weight. It worked and, got down to in the hundreds, which, I haven't been in a long time. And so in 2006, end of my first year in Minnesota, I haven't had a drink of alcohol since I moved to Minnesota. My buddy Evan, one of my closest friends, was getting married in Memphis. And so the night before the wedding, a bunch of us went out, and we went on to Beale Street. And we all went to B.B. King's. And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching them all drink, and I'm drinking water and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, the bartender looks at me and goes, "Buddy," he goes, "you can't be in here and not drinking." I'm like, "What? What do you mean you can't be in here and not drinking?" And I'm like, I could be wherever the freak I want and not drink if I want to. So and then he just came up to me laughing. He goes, "No, honestly," he goes, "the guy over there ordered this beer, but he wanted a different one. I misheard him. So why don't you just have this beer on me?" So I'm like, okay. So I drank the beer. By the end of that night, I was doing shots. It was like the beginning of
beer
me
is a
drinking
gateway alcohol.
So B.B. King's, the bartender at B.B. King's on Beale Street, made me an alcoholic.
Yeah, it's all his fault.
Yeah,
There's no question about it.
But it was funny. I was I didn't drink for 3 years. I had one beer, and next thing I know, I'm doing shots with all my buddies by the end of the night.
Beautiful.
It's unbelievable. Freaking B.B. King's.
I have not been to every NHL arena like you. I have to say United Center has as good an atmosphere as I've experienced in an away arena. Where's it rank in the NHL?
It's awesome. It's a great atmosphere. Montreal, this place. Game ops are incredible. Obviously, the anthem is just insane, and it's just awesome. I mean, compared to I've covered this league long enough to tell you what this arena was like when they stunk. Back in the Bill Wirtz days before he passed away, and Rocky Wirtz has come in and he's put the game on TV here in town again where they weren't on that, and obviously those years of misery here got them Kane and Taves and it's just and it's paid off with a couple cups that's captured the imagination of one of the great sports towns in the country. I mean, this is a sports town that could easily forget about the Blackhawks because they got the Bears and the Cubs that are always going to be number one and all that, and the Bulls. But the Blackhawks are right up there now. I mean, back in the day, I used to work for the Sun Sentinel, and we were owned by the Tribune Company, Chicago Tribune. And there was a point where I had the ability to come here and cover the Blackhawks. And my editor, Fred Turner, who, God rest his soul, he's since passed away, one of my heroes, probably my biggest influence, calls me in his office when I was thinking of kind of what it would be like, quote-unquote, transfer, right, to the Chicago Tribune. He goes, "Are you crazy? They hate hockey there. You're going to be writing 8 inches a day, page, you're not going to ever run out front and all this stuff." And look at it since. Now, I don't think that it was the wrong move because it got me to Minnesota, eventually staying in Florida. But but back in the day, he wasn't wrong. I mean, I was going to be. You were going to go to a city where you're going to be like 7th beat on the totem pole. There was a point at the time where Northwestern was the bigger beat than covering the Blackhawks at this paper. And so I think of what it was then to what it is now, Jim. It's not even in the same galaxy.
No, I remember coming down when Chelios was playing here and watching a game. I think it was a wild Blackhawks game, and even back then it wasn't quite the same as it is today. I came down to do a Bob Hartley story when he was coaching here.
What's that?
I came down to do a Hartley story when he was coaching here.
Hartley or
did I mess up the name?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who you might be meaning. Hartley was in Atlanta.
Well, he was here for like 2 years, wasn't he?
If he was, it might be with the Chicago Wolves.
No, it was definitely a Blackhawks game I covered. Anyway, I'll figure it out later. I'm getting like Sid. I just forget all the names.
Maybe Brian Sutter or Denny Savard?
Nope.
Okay, I'm trying to think who. Mike Keenan?
Nope. Okay. I know all those guys.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Let's go to some Twitter questions. We had so many people asking questions at the Liffey the other day. We didn't do as many Twitter questions as possible. I know Ben Feldman was very upset we didn't ask any of his questions, so we will get to him today. Lori.
Ask better questions.
Ooh. The gauntlet has been thrown down.
Kidding.
I don't even know what a gauntlet is.
No. Ben's a friend of the program.
Yes, he is. Lori, just a direct declarative statement here. Wow, didn't know anyone said slacks anymore.
I know.
Thank you, Lori. Very good. Mitch. Perzacilli, I think it is. How is Zucker's hand? How did he look in practice? And does anyone know the extent of the injury?
I do know the extent of the injury, but it's like one of those where you're really not supposed to write it. He's hurt. I think that probably the 5 days helped him, but I mean, you just watch him in the locker room, even putting his skates up. He's not doing it very comfortably. He's hurt. There's no doubt about it.
Can he rip a shot or not?
We'll see. I think that if anybody needs to know if he was hurt or not, just needs to look in the third period in Game 5 when that play with about 5 minutes left when he couldn't get the puck out. It was almost like he just couldn't even get it out from 10 feet. He's playing hurt right now. That's what you do in the playoffs.
From Brian Durheim, I think I got that one right. Brian's also a friend of the program. What will be the biggest adjustment/difference the Wild make to their approach in comparison to the last series?
I don't know if there's going to be any big adjustments because they want to play their game, but I think it's just going to be a much more skating game. But again, it's just going to be a different style. There's not going to be a lot of stuff after the whistles, I don't think. I mean, Andrew Shaw is kind of probably their quote-unquote Steve Ott, but only he plays the power play and things like that. But I don't think stylistically, I don't think the Wild. You don't reinvent your game. You don't change your schemes like you would maybe in football, depending on the opponent. Everybody has a system and what they do well, and the most important thing is for the team that executes its game plan the best. I mean, but again, what you don't want to see And I really stand by this. And people think that I said this the other day, and I got all these tweets like, we're as fast and we're as skilled and blah, 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 blah. You don't want to get into a track meet with the Hawks. I'm sorry. Like, you get into a track meet in the Hawks where it's just counter, 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 and you might be entertained at home. The Wild are going to lose that game. I mean, I know that the Wild are a better team, but they still don't have Kane and Taves and Hossa and all these guys. I mean, this is a skilled team, and if you get into a track meet with this team, more often than not, they're going to eventually find a way to break you down and beat you. And I don't think you just want to go counter, counter, counter against this skilled Hawks team. What you want to do, I'm telling you, where if you're watching tonight's game and it's 0-0 and you're freaking out, that's not a bad thing. Like, they almost need to play that template that we saw in April 7th here when it was that game, and then all of a sudden they stuck with it, and finally it was Chicago that got a little impatient, broke down on their own end, and Stewart came flying out and set up Zucker. And that's what has been really the recipe of the Wild's road games. The whole second half is they just kind of stick with their game plan and outpatient the other team, and then boom, they strike with like a couple goals, and we saw that in St. Louis when Niederreiter and Brodziak scored back-to-back. We saw that here when they clinched a playoff spot when Zucker and Granlund scored back-to-back. And that's kind of, that wouldn't be a bad game to play tonight. You might freak out at home if it's like that, but that might be the best way to beat this team in this building. It could look different at home, but I think in this building, dumbing it down is not a bad thing.
And that's what Quenneville was talking about today. He said you don't want to make the play that might lead to the other team getting a breakout. You don't want to make the fancy play or the risky play. I think you're going to see two teams just playing very sound, careful hockey.
Yeah. At least that's the goal that both coaches say. We'll see if it
actually happens or not. I know, talking to Coyle and Parisi and a couple other guys today, what struck me was, they had to gear up knowing the Blues were going to pull a lot of stuff after the whistle. And so one of their big game plans for the Blues was don't retaliate. Take the extra hit, take the extra slash, take the punch after the whistle, and just don't retaliate. Frankly, they just don't have to worry about that. Other than Shaw, maybe. They don't have to worry about that much. It's going to be more pure hockey.
Yeah, and that brings in a different type of form of discipline because this team, if you're not taking care of the puck and you suddenly have them coming at you with speed, you're going to be more likely to take obstruction penalties and hooks and holds and high sticks and interferences. And so, where the Wild have to be disciplined in the series, but a different type of discipline, and that's just being real disciplined with their style of play so they're not putting themselves in a position where they're having to deal with a very fast Blackhawks team by taking penalties.
Chad Zachman, definitely a friend of the program. Which defenseman will need to have a big series to slow down Kane and Taves?
I would say Suter and Brodin, although, I think Scandella and Spurgeon, too. I mean, on the road...
So everybody, basically.
Yeah, on the road, they're going to try to get them, obviously, out against Leopold and Dumba. And, so those guys are going to have to be real disciplined in their system, too. I mean, a guy like Dumba here has a chance to, be that ultimate high-risk, high-reward guy where he can, really hurt you, but he can really help you. And he's the one that I'm going to be interested to watch the most because, look, I mean, there's little doubt that Quenneville is going to try to take advantage of a rookie in this series. And so, this is going to have to be a one-by-committee, though, game. I don't know if there's just one defenseman that's got to shut down anybody. I mean, it's going to have to be by-committee defense.
By the way, loosest guy on the ice today for the Wild, Dumba.
Yeah.
He was goofing around with everybody.
And I think he was doing it intentionally, which I thought was really cool because I felt like they were very tight in the morning skate. It was... I don't know if it was all business-like, but it was very quiet, and he was the one guy, how many times did he come over to every time he came to the glass, he checked one of his teammates, and then they started, pushing, kind of wrestling. Yeah, it was usually Spurgeon. I saw Brodziak was doing it with Cook, too, and Cook didn't turn around and kill him, which was a good sign.
That's a sign of maturity, I think.
Yep.
And the other thing I know about Dumba, that he's an incredibly hard shot. I saw him taking shots from the blue line today, and hitting corners. I mean, it's not just a hard shot. He has accuracy with that sucker.
Yeah, I mean, he snipes it, man. It's interesting. A lot of guys on the Wild say that he's almost impossible to redirect. That he's, because
so hard.
Yeah, it's not even that. I guess he's for some bizarre reason. I was talking to Nino about this about him I don't even remember, maybe 2-3 months ago, that when he shoots the puck, for some reason, the puck will actually churn vertically. And he's just, very difficult to redirect. And if you think about it, I don't think there have been a lot of Dumba shots that have been deflected for goals. They're usually go right in, or they don't, or
swish.
Yeah.
Ben Feldman, definite friend of the program. Do you expect to see fireworks early tonight, or a groggy start for both sides with the long break?
I don't know. I really don't. I don't know if I want to predict exactly. I would think both teams are going to come out with energy. I wouldn't shock me at all if it was a little sloppy to start and rustiness, but I think that'll quickly dissipate.
From Sarah Sandbolty, I think. I'm sure I screwed that up. Why is Chelsea Dagger so damn annoying? Very important.
Because it plays all the time. That's why. A very good team. Although the Wild outscored the Blackhawks this year.
From Russo Slacks, yes, that is a Twitter handle now. Does Koivu do anything offensively in the series? I believe he's the key.
Actually, the more questions that Russo Slacks asks, we could probably figure out who the person is.
It's Fletcher,
so this is somebody that likes Koivu, so I can already take about 50% of my followers. And, Koivu. It was you that wrote, I think, the other day, one point in 11 games against the Blackhawks. He's got to score more, but it always seems like Taves and him kind of offset each other, and then Taves eventually breaks through and kills him. And I just think that Koivu's got to be good. I mean, he's going to get the tough matchups, and at home Mike is going to use him in tough matchup situations. And you're right. I mean, if the Wild are going to win the series, Koivu's going to have to be very good.
From our friend Russo Filter, who was nice enough to give away one of his RTFB T-shirts the other day at the Liffey. Definite friend of the program and a friend of Russo. He tweeted out a playbill that features Judd Hirsch, Joe Morton, and George Wendt in the play Art.
How about that? That I remembered that.
And he nailed it. And Russo Filter could get it out to us that
I
quickly.
saw it in London, in Leicester Square, I think it was. I had one of the best meals of my life. I was a kid. Went with my parents. I remember I had a pesto dish, Jim.
Must have been an important meal for you to remember pesto. 40 years later?
I know, it's funny. It was great. It was great. It was just exciting to see, Norm.
Well, I've been to London twice. Once to cover the Olympics, once to cover a Vikings game. And what struck me is the first time I went, I'm in a kind of a crappy hotel because we're saving money. It's the Olympics, and all the good hotels are sold out. So it's kind of a crappy hotel in an okay neighborhood, and really the only decent food within 3 miles was like pizza. Pizza can't be screwed up that badly. Then I went back with the Vikings, stayed in a nicer hotel in a nicer section of town. Incredible food.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you walk down to some of those beautiful, classic London, rich areas. Every restaurant was like 5 stars.
I go to London.
And all ethnic. You don't eat English food. You eat ethnic food.
I haven't been to London actually in 2 or 3 summers, but I used to go there almost every other summer, if not every summer, because I have a bunch of friends there. Mm-hmm. And, it's one of my favorite. That city. And Dublin are probably my 2 favorite European cities. You and I covered an Olympics together. We covered Vancouver.
That's right.
That was
Vancouver.
Fun. Yep.
Yeah, it was.
Your back was out.
My back was out, which really, I really regret it because I just didn't get to enjoy. It's a beautiful city. It was a great Olympics.
We lucked out there.
Everywhere.
We stayed at a regular Sheraton, right? If I remember correctly, or a West Sheraton, where a lot of our, isn't it like luck of the draw how you get your hotels in the Olympics or something?
Yes, and also they're slightly different price points too. Yeah. I think our editor got us in a pretty decent hotel.
Yeah, but remember how many of our colleagues just were like awful hotels in the middle of the worst parts of Vancouver, and you and I were actually at a real hotel. That was one of my most fun experiences, was covering that Olympics and going up to Whistler before the NHL ever started and all that stuff.
The trip up to Whistler and seeing the bay or the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, you're leaving a beautiful city and you're driving on these mountain roads and overlooking water, and there's open water to your left and there's snow-capped mountains to your right. It's just gorgeous.
That was I was in Vancouver because I missed the last 2 or 3 Wild games before the Olympics to go cover the Olympics, and that was when they made the Nicoletti for Cam Barker trade.
That's right.
And I didn't cover that. And I remember Brian Stensis was my backup back then. He called me up and was like, "They made this trade." I'm like, it sounds like a decent trade. No, I don't think I said that. What a steal the Wild got. Cam Barker, former 3rd pick overall. Oh, my God.
I thought it was a decent deal until I watched Cam Barker play, and I realized he couldn't skate better than me.
Hey, you want to hear a Slack story?
Yes. We got a Slacks story.
Yeah. So you probably...
We need a Slacks sponsor.
You probably remember this.
Macy's.
Because I'm sure I told you this story. Because remember, this is kind of... Remember, like, you and I kind of were the innovators of Wild Minute. Remember we used to do the videos at the Olympics? But so I go up to Whistler, and before the Olympics started, my editors at the time, Mark Wallman's like, I think he was testing me to see if I could actually cover something else. He's like, go up there. We'll have you cover luge. I like shadowed Tony Benshoff around, and that was actually when the kid from the Republic of Georgia died. I was up there at the time and had to write about that. But so one day they sent me up there to do a Lindsey Vonn story. And so I go up. I'm on the bus because we're staying in Vancouver. I'm on the bus at like 6 a.m. and I'm going up there, and I'm covering skiing. And I don't have a jacket. I'm wearing slacks. I'm wearing boat shoes and dress socks, okay? So I get up there, and it's the first time going up to the skiing there, so I have no clue what to expect. So they drop you off at the media center, and then I'm like, hey, where's the skiing? I'm like, I see mountain. Where's the mountain? Where do I go? And they're like, no, you got to get on this bus now, and you got to go up to this other mountain. I'm like, okay. So I get off the bus. I'm like, hey, where's the skiing? And they're like, oh, you got to take the chairlift up to the next level of the mountain, and then you get off there, and you'll be where you need to cover Lindsey Vonn. So I'm on this chairlift, and I'm looking around. I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. This is incredible. And then I start going down, and I start as we're going down now. I'm looking at the fact that I am wearing slacks, dress socks, and boat shoes. And then as we're getting within like 50 feet of the bottom of the chairlift, I notice that there's like no like complex to cover the skiing. So, but all I see is just a mountain of snow. And again, I look at and I'm wearing slacks and boat shoes and freaking like dress socks. So I get off, and guy helps me get off, and I got my computer. I got no jacket. I'm wearing slacks. And I said, where the hell is the skiing? And they're like, oh, you got to walk up this little area, basically about 150 feet to the lodge, and that's going to be the media center for the skiing, and that's at the bottom of the hill. And so now there's like I'm walking through just like knee-deep snow to get up to the
boat shoes.
In boat shoes.
And slacks.
So I finally trek my way up there. I am now, the bottom, like from knee down, my slacks are basically like I've been in an ocean. I walk into this is unbelievable. I am so embarrassed. Every time I tell this story, I get like sweaty because I'm so embarrassed at this story.
Is this one of the stories you shouldn't tell us, but you're going to tell us anyway?
No, trust me. It's oh my God. So I am soaking wet. So as I open up the door, I decide, this just shows you how also stupid I am. I decide I'm going to take my boat shoes off. Okay? So because I'm soaking wet. So I take my boat shoes off. I take one step on this like Formica tile, and I did the loudest like flop to the ground as you've ever heard. That my leg just went right out from under me, and it was like the loudest like boom like ever. And all of a sudden I look up as I'm picking myself off the floor, and like 50 probably media people that I have never seen in my life are just staring at me like, what the hell is this jacketless guy not wearing anything? Like everybody in there is like wearing ski pants and boots, and here I am in like soaking wet like slacks and soaking wet socks, and now no shoes in the media center. And then you know what happened that day? The thing got canceled. Lindsey Vonn didn't skate. And so I took a entire ride, a 2.5-hour ride up to Whistler to write about 5 inches of Lindsey Vonn's meet was canceled.
That's awesome.
It was unbelievable. The other part, you know what's weird about that story? The thing I remember the most about listening, I had the new Owl City album, and I listened to Owl City for 2.5 hours up and 2.5 hours down. This one album on my iPod. I don't know what made it that for some reason sticks in my head.
That's the best Slack story you've told so far. Ben Feldman, again, we're going to make up because we missed him last time.
Holy mackerel, enough. I mean, don't we have a limit on the amount of questions that you can ask, Jim?
Ben was very hurt.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to get him back in our good graces. Which team do you expect to tally more hits in the series?
Last time the Wild were here, the hits were ridiculous. The hits in buildings are so subjective. Technically the definition of a hit in hockey is a hit that makes you dislodge the puck and lose possession. Where some buildings like this one and Toronto and places like that, it's like anytime there's contact, it's a hit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, hits to me in this series aren't going to be the biggest thing. More goals will. How about that for hockey analysis?
That's
Ben. Let me promise
insightful.
you, whoever scores more goals will win this series.
I'm going to ignore. I'm just pretend you didn't say that. James Polkowski, if you had to guess who on the Wild steps up in a big way in this series.
I still think Zucker. I know that he's playing hurt, but I think he's the I think that line of Vanek, Coyle, and Zucker has a chance to be really good in this series because you just know, especially here in Chicago, that they are going to just make life very difficult on the Koivu line and the Parise line and the Granlund line. And so I just think that Coyle line could really get lost. And if you get lost, there's a way that you pounce. The other interesting lines in this series are going to be the fourth line. That Desjardins, Shaw, and Kruger line is very, very good. And so, I know it sounds stupid, but whoever's fourth line in this series is better could be have a major impact because both these fourth lines have been very good for both teams.
Ben Scherer asked Russo if he ever found out what Dumba said into his arm when he scored against St.
and
Louis.
It's not even Dumba. I don't know if you've noticed. Was that Ben?
Yes.
I don't know if Ben, and I am sure some Wild fans have noticed, it's not Dumba. It's Stewart, it's Spurgeon. They're all doing it, and nobody will tell what it is. It's one of those things they say they'll tell us after the playoffs. I hope it's not an inside joke about, like, the media.
I hope it is. That'd be kind of funny.
That would be mean.
You know what they're doing?
Yeah.
They're covering their mouth and they're screaming, "Slacks!"
Yeah, I mean, even Parise wouldn't tell us the other day.
J-Max, do you see Crawford taking back the net or Darling going for it all
If Crawford, again? Yeah, I mean, if all of a sudden Darling's in there, that obviously bodes well for the Wild. I mean, I think it's very important. That's the one storyline in this series that you could just tell there's a bit of an anxiety in this town. There's a lot of confidence in the Blackhawks, but there are a lot of people that are starting to really wonder if Crawford is, got the yips right now, and so it's up to the Wild to finally beat this guy and prove that maybe he does and put that doubt in this team's mind.
Do you think they do a little extra just throwing the puck at the net? Or
I think shoot from everywhere, shoot high, and just shoot. I think it's just so important to get at this guy.
Crawford has been flinching on high shots.
Yeah, it's weird. He does. He literally flinches on high shots. It's bizarre.
From Bill, a question that I have been asking. Can the Minnesota Wild win the series without scoring from Vanek and or Stewart? To me, those are the two biggest variables.
They did last series. Those are the two, to me. It's not even scoring for them. Are they going to be good? This is going to be a skating series. These are not very fast skaters, or at times. And I thought both had very mediocre, at least offensively, series against the Blues. And I just think both need to be better.
Oh, I agree. And I have a hunch. I don't know about Stewart. He's just playing soft right now. But I have a hunch this will be the kind of series that Vanek can do some damage.
I agree. He's played well against them. I do think that he has got that ability.
Again, from Dan Waldron, what was Drinking Russo's shot of choice?
Back then?
Yeah, so you talked about BBK.
Well, when I was a kid, Goldschlager, tequila.
Who the hell drinks Goldschlager?
I'm saying when I was younger, I did. Back then I didn't. Yeah, no. But when I was a kid, I did. I remember there's this liqueur, like Irish mist, and we always drink shots of Irish mist. That was kind of my thing.
You might have already answered this one, but James Polkowski, what would the preferred matchups for the forward lines be for the Wild?
Is that Severance Guy?
Or no? Yes, that is Severance Guy.
What do you ask?
What would the preferred matchups for the forward lines be for the Wild?
My guess is that Yo will try to go Parise's line against the Vermette line big time in Minnesota. I would almost bet my I would almost bet
your slacks.
I almost said like paycheck, but I don't want to go that far.
It's only a Star Tribune paycheck. It's not that big a deal.
And then I don't know. You're asking me all these tough questions, Severance guy.
Come up with something. Come on. Give him something.
No, that's the one I think that you could take advantage of the most. I look at that line as being one that you could take advantage of, and I'd be interested to see how Quenneville gets away with that. The other thing he's done is he's really spread the wealth on his blue line. You know, it's weird. He's got Keith with Roosevelt right now, and he's got Seabrook on a different line, Oduya on a different line, and it's kind of interesting if he'll eventually in these games, if the Wild take advantage, if he just loads it up again.
Tell me about Patrick Kane, because he was a partier, he's a flashy player, and yet it seems like he has the respect of opposing players. Does he rub people the wrong way, or is he popular?
I mean, I don't know. I guess he rubs some people the wrong way. I like him. I've always thought he was an incredible player, and I always said, you give a guy millions of dollars and 22, 21 years old, and you're gonna be a kid still. I think, unfortunately, in this day and age, he's doing nothing differently. The only thing is that everybody's got a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, you think that's bad. Wait till people start periscoping like guys like Patrick Kane out on the bat. I mean, could you imagine being a celebrity in today's day and age where now you could it's not even take pictures. You could live stream them being idiots. So I mean, on the ice is where I look at him. I mean, yeah. I mean, has he done some stupid stuff off the ice that's been well publicized? Like, the thing with the cabbie in Buffalo and the thing in the limo in Vancouver and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. But on the ice, he's one of the best players in the league. It's so impressive that he's able to do this as undersized as he is. And he's helped lead this team to 2 cups. So how can't you like him? I mean, I'm sure that there are some old schoolers that don't like the flashiness and the cockiness that sometimes he shows on the ice. But
I love watching him play. I love the skilled guys. I love the guys who are trying to beat you.
I like him too. Like
goals.
You go into it, like you go to Jonathan Toews and you talk to him, and you're like, you could see why he's got this aura around him of why he's such a winner. And same thing at Kane. And my dealings with Kane are always like, he's so respectful. Even just yesterday, he's like, nice seeing you again, Mike. I've never covered him, but he knows your name. I still remember the first time that I sat down with him. His NHL debut was in Minnesota, and so during that preseason, I knew I wanted to do a Kane story, and the Wild played the Blackhawks 2 times, and so I sat down with him on one of the trips for this story. And from that point on, every time I've seen him, there's a recognition, mm-hmm. And and to me that just shows also how smart he is, because you could tell that he watches hockey. When he was talking to me yesterday about the Wild Blues series, you could tell that, how big of a hockey fan he is. Mm-hmm. This wasn't just video that he watched with the coaches. He watched a lot of that series. And that just shows you how big of a hockey fan he is. I remember when I used to cover Pavel Bure, Pavel would not know anything that was going on in the league at any point. Nothing. He never watched hockey. I've
always been amazed by that. All the I've been covering sports for 30 years, and I've known athletes who know everything that's going on and know all the writers' names and who are just right on top of things. And I've known athletes every time you speak to them, you are educating them because all they know is their one skill.
Yeah, Iginla's that way. You talk to Iginla and you could just tell that he knows everything that's happened with the Wild in the last 3 months. And same thing, he's one of those guys you walk in the room. I've never covered him. Every time, knows you by the name, always time for you. And that stuff, makes an impression on writers. Immediately you're going to have immense amount of respect for that type of player.
I remember the coach I was talking about, the Blackhawks coach I came down to cover. I screwed it up. I'm stupid. Not Bob Hartley, of course. Craig Hartsburg, who's here for about 3 years.
Former North Star.
Yes, former North Star, and that's what the connection was. That's why I came down to see him, so that was stupid. Again, the show is Souhan Unfiltered at SouhanUnfiltered.com. You can get it via iTunes, via iHeartRadio. Thanks to the sponsors, The Local, Kieran's Irish Pub, The Liffey, where next week we have 2 shows planned because we're going heavy hockey right now. 2 o'clock on Tuesday at The Liffey. Craig Leopold, Wild owner, will be there. Come on by, ask a question, have a beer. Again, that is part of the 50 free Guinnesses that we're giving out to people who show up and check in on social media. Then Thursday, what time do we decide on Thursday? 3:30? 3:30.
3:30.
3:30 on Thursday. It'll be Russo and I and probably a visiting writer talking about the Game 4 coming up then. and then I'll start mixing up some non-hockey going forward. But we want to get as much Russo as we can while the Wild are in the playoffs. Michael, give me a final thought here as we head toward the rink.
I hope we don't hit traffic. I hate traffic, Jim.
I hate traffic in Chicago.
It took us so long to get back here. Oh, you mean about the game? I hope it's easy to park. I don't know. I mean, I am, as kind of Ben, I think it was Ben that asked the question. I am just curious about how this game is going to start, I think they're, do they go all out after each other? Or are they true to their words the last couple of days of being patient? Is there rustiness and sloppiness that might just come natural from one team being off 6 days, the other team being 5? It's just, and I'm just glad there's a game. Like even Yo said to me, as we got done with, I shouldn't say this. Have I mentioned that?
This is your first official. I shouldn't say this, but
like even as Yo came off the podium today, I looked at him and he kind of gave me the look like you didn't even have a question. I'm like, and I just said I got nothing. He goes, seriously, my God, the same bullshit questions for 5 days. Let's play a game already. Like even
true.
Yo is just like, oh my God, enough. I've been asking the same stuff. It's like,
because I'm one of these, I go to a lot of press conferences. I don't ask a question to ask a question. I only ask a question if A, I have a question, and B, I don't think it's going to be the obvious question that everybody else is going to ask.
I mean,
I just sit in some of these press conferences and go, just let's get it.
Hey, there's a reason why I wrote Kemper for tomorrow, because I had nothing else to write. I mean, I honestly was like, I said to you 15 times on the way there, what the hell am I going to write that's going to hold up for an 8:30 game?
Thank you.
I didn't want to pull what Chip did and do an early on Dubnik and then watch him get loose.
Yeah, that's not the right way to do that. Thank you to Russo's Filter. Thank you to everyone listening, of course. Thank you for all the tweeted questions. Thanks to Ben Feldman for hanging in there with us, and the Zachmans, who always offer a lot to the show.
And Severance Guy.
And mostly, thank you to Russo's Slacks. Thank you.
Is that like? Could I sue Russo Slacks? Is there a way I can call them?
Why would you want to do that?
I don't know.
It just seems like promoting the show.
Yeah, but I don't. I just don't think that.
You're uncomfortable with this.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with Russo Slacks being a Twitter account. I just think it's wrong. It's.
I think it's awesome.
It's using my.
That's why I created it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everybody for listening again. Tuesday, 2:00 at the Liffey with Craig Leopold with free Guinness. That's next time we'll be talking to you. Thanks for listening.